Hey, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co. and today I'm reviewing Captain Obvious from Lucky Duck Games. Captain Obvious is a 3 to 10 player party game in which players are trying to, well, do the obvious. The general idea of the game is every single round you're going to go ahead and flip a card from the stack. You're going to first declare a number. I'm going to declare 2. We're going to declare 2. We're going to go ahead and have the word father. Father is the word we're using. We'll roll a die, and we have, that's going to re-roll the die, and we have a 5. Okay, 5 is going to be the, 1 second. Oh, this is so good. This is so good. Okay, cool. I just figured something out. Anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and try to construct a sentence using the word father and using the number 5 words in the sentence. So it's a 5-word sentence using the word father. And I got this. First, we're going to write our name over here. Now, keep in mind, all the players are doing this at the same time. So for the sake of funsies, I'm going to go ahead and do 2 of these. But someone played this and didn't eliminate their word over here, which means I need to go ahead and do that over there. Give me a second over here to get rid of whatever's going over here. Give me 1 second. This has been sitting here, played for a few, so we have to get rid of this. I grabbed the 1 envelope, and we're going to write let's say, we're going to write this over here. 1, okay. Done. Ignore my handwriting. Okay. What I've done is I've written a 5-word sentence using the word father. We're going to have somebody else do this. Please don't have words in there. We're good. We're safe. We're going to have John. John's going to go ahead and chip in as well. Right, John over here. And ideally, you're playing 3 players minimum. You can try to do things with 2 players, but it's not really the way the game is played. And John's going to write a different sentence. Let's see, what can I do over here? Nope. Nope. Okay, I did this. There we go. Okay, now we're done. So I have 2 5-word sentences using the word father. Now the goal of the game is when you write a sentence, your goal is to be as obvious as possible. Because you're going to go ahead and pass this card to the player on your left. They're going to take a look at what you wrote, and then they're going to cross out 1 single word. They're going to look at it, they're going to cross out a single word. Whichever word they think makes it harder for people to, at the table, guess the word. So for example, I'm going to do this one first. I wrote these, and I'm going to cross out the word, but I'm still going to try to be genuine. We have... I think that's the best one to go with. We're going to cross out that word. Okay, so I've crossed out a word. I'm going to replace that word with the word bleep or blank or whatever. So now here's what you're going to do. You're going to try to guess what this word is. The Lord, our blank father. The Lord, our blank father. Now, you're not allowed to cross out articles. You can't cross out the, and, if, or any of those words or whatnot. You can't cross an article because that would be too whatever. But we have the Lord, our blank father. Now, are you able to guess what that is? The way it works is, if you are able to guess what the original author of the sentence meant, then both you and they get a point. If no one at the table is able to guess what they meant, then the person who crossed out the word gets a point. But you only have 1 guess to guess. So in other words, if you're playing a 4-player game, for the sake of simplicity over here, in a 4-player game, you have the original author of the sentence, you have the person who crossed it off, and then you have the other 2 players who have 1 guess each to figure out what the bleeped out word is. The Lord, our bleep father. Now, if you went ahead and guessed heavenly, you are correct. The Lord, our heavenly father. But you have to do that on your first guess, or you would not get any points. But if you did get it, then whoever guessed it first, and it is real time, you're all trying to go as fast as possible, but you only have 1 guess, so you want to be as fast as possible while being certain is the correct thing you're trying to go for. So if somebody yelled out heavenly, then they go ahead and get a point. The Lord, our heavenly father, not a bad sentence. Arguably, is it really a sentence? I don't know. We have to figure out the definition of sentences, but I would count it because I'm not worried. Although, if you can figure out what I did over here, I did a much better sentence that I don't think there's a single word you can cross out in the sentence that would obfuscate the meaning. But I'll try. I'll try the, I don't think there's a way I can cross it off because, again, the goal is to be obvious. The goal is, as the constructor of the sentence, you are trying to make a sentence that even though somebody else is trying to obfuscate the meaning, they can't. That's the goal. So, for example, I wrote, bleep, I am your father. I assume all of you immediately said Luke. I do. I assume you said, Luke, I am your father. Now, again, keep in mind, the person who got the sentence, they could have done bleep, I am your father. They could do Luke, bleep, am your father. They could have done Luke, Is M an article? I is not an article, but I don't know if M is. Let's say M is not an article. I don't know, actually know. Luke, I blank your father. Luke, I am bleep father. Luke, I am your bleep. I think all of those, this is a very known standard phrase that happens to be a sentence, and so this would be a pretty foolproof sentence. You got away with I'm so glad I rolled the 2 over there, and that's basically how you play the game. You try to come up with you go ahead and you select number 1 to 7, you flip a card, let's say 5, let's do another one, we'll do 5. Okay, 5 over here is going to be the next one. We have 5 is desire, we're going to roll this over here, and we have a 5 again. 5 again. Now keep in mind, by the way, these over here, I believe is 5, 6, 7, 8 are the different options on the die, but we have desire with 5. What is a sentence that I can construct that would be foolproof and does not involve me dropping a marker on my pants? Admittedly, they're blue pants, so I'm not the worst off over here. But let's see, desire and 5 letters. What could I do? 5 words, not letters. Desire. I could do, okay, so I would probably construct the object of my desire. But then I think if you blanked out object, it would be the bleep of my desire. That could go either way. So hopefully you get a sense of how this game plays. The goal is construct a sentence, pass the thing to the person on your left, they try to destroy the sentence, then every player guesses, and you get points until eventually one player gets 10 points and that player wins the game. Well, more specifically, the round in which the player gets 10 points, and whoever has the most points wins the game. Sadly, there are no tiebreakers. There should be tiebreakers, lucky duck. Anyways, let's go ahead and review the game, although I should start with just a few general notes before. First of all, you could the rules have variance in them. So, for example, if you want to play to 15 points, 20 points, whatever it is, go ahead and do so. I personally think 15 points is a good round number in this game. 10 can go by a little quickly, but ultimately you do you. And like most party games, this is more about the fun of the experience than any beginning, end, or who won. Additionally, the rules do have a thing about passing the either to the left or to the right, or passing, alternating. First round you pass 1, then you pass 2, then 3, to make sure every player has a chance to mess with other players' words, so it's not always the same player altering the same player's words. Personally, in our games, we've been passing left then right, left then right, left then right. That gives you a degree of alteration without tracking, 3 steps around the table. But that's also why you have your name on the board. It makes it very easy to actually track. So those are small little variants around the gameplay. Oh, and then the 3-player gameplay does have a variant in it, in which the 3-player gameplay has a player has 2 guesses, because there's only 1 player who's guessing, so there's no timer on it. You have 2 guesses. If you guess correctly the first guess, then you and the original person get 2 points each. If you get your second guess, you get 1 point each, and otherwise no points, and the person who blocked it off gets 2 points. So again, a slight variation around a 3-player experience. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into the review. I'm not going to follow my usual format for this one, because I'm just going to go ahead and talk about Captain Obvious. This one was a pleasant surprise for me. A very pleasant surprise. I was expecting very, very little from this game. It's called Captain Obvious. Party games in general, they're a dime a dozen. A lot of them come out. Very few of them actually become worth keeping, at least for me. There's so many party games already. Like, how different can you make that game that makes people laugh with something silly? And the answer is, this one works. It is a clever puzzle, and it's also a funny puzzle. It has those 2 elements. There is a degree of cleverness going on to the actual gameplay, of figuring out what is the most impenetrable sentence if you're trying to be obvious. But it also has a ton of fun as players guess or don't guess, and players try to figure it out, or you construct sentences. It also does not have an After Dark version of the game. After Dark party games are usually where you something decide to go a little adult in it, but it's usually not that hard to have that naturally happen in the game. Although the nice thing about that, where I don't mind a little bit of After Dark in my party games, I do prefer it in a way where it's kind of player determined, where the players can kind of decide to inject it themselves, as opposed to where it's forced. First of all, I don't like forced adult humor. I like it much more player determined, but also because it means you can play this game with a bunch of kids, never have that kind of stuff happen, or you can play with a bunch of your slightly more raunchy friends and have the jokes naturally pop up. So you have kind of both. I like it when that is the way raunchiness enters a party game. Past that, the game itself is very easy to teach, very easy to play, different than other party games I've seen out there, and gives you a very fascinating puzzle of trying to be as obvious as possible. You are forced to construct a sentence and think through how is that sentence going to be torn apart, and how can you stop it from being torn apart, which again, it really allows for moments where you think you are super clever, moments where you actually were super clever, and moments where somebody else crosses off a word and you're like, I thought that would be impenetrable, but it wasn't. There was one time where I did I'll instead of I or your, and that just completely messed things up. The stupid silly situation where I just did I'll just ruined the entire word because I was too focused on the other words and missed that being crossed off. Now, the one downside of the game as far as I'm concerned is, well, 2 arguable downsides. One downside I'll say is the fact that this is prone to taking too long turns. This is a game where as you try to construct that perfect 8-word sentence that obfuscates that one word and goes to exactly 8, I would say most of the time you get a reasonable amount of time for the turns you're playing. But there certainly have been games I've played, or rounds I should say, not games, rounds I've played, where someone's just taking their sweet time with trying to figure out that exact perfect sentence that constructs 7 words and has the word pocket and is not going to be torn apart by the other players. It can take time, it has those slight AP prone moments, but overall it runs at a good clip. I'll also say that this game does have, when I play party games, the thing I prefer most is the interaction between the elements, making it more variable. So for example, when you play something like Codenames, it's not about any one word, it's about the interaction of all the words, making it so that it's always going to be a unique experience. Over here, you do have, it's about one word. It's about the word month, not how month combines with rice or desire or army or that. It's about the word month. Now granted, you do have a variable amount of words in the sentence, so it could be month with 8 words or month with 6 words, and that will be a different puzzle, but this is one of those more singular focused party game experiences as opposed to something a bit more intricate like Decrypto or So Clover or any of those experiences, which for me overall is a ding, but it's a ding around the concept of certain party games because you can get to a moment where it becomes repeated. Like, oh, the next time I have father with 5 words, I know exactly what to do because it's an impenetrable sentence. So you do have those moments. I will say, given how many cards there are and the fact that that's going to be whatever, I have no clue how many cards there are, but there's a lot of cards. Let's say there's like 60 cards, 60 times 7 is going to be 420 words. You're going to have different sentences. Let's say even you just say 2 types of sentences. You have the 7-word sentence and the 8-word sentence. You have all variabilities, but you can't guarantee what gets rolled. So let's say on average you have 2, that's still going to be over 1,000. Well, it's 840, but you'll have easily over 1,000 different combinations. So as much as that is a potential problem, I'd have to play this game a lot before it became a realistic problem. And that's basically what's going on over here. It's unique, it's clever, it's different than other party games, it has laughs, it has strategy, it works well at a variety of player counts, and it's a bit more chaotic at higher player counts, a bit more strategic at lower player counts, but overall works well at all player counts. So overall, final thoughts on this one. For me, final thoughts on Captain Obvious is this one took me by complete surprise. In general, this is going to be one of my Gen Con reviews where I came back from Gen Con with a bunch of games and I'm trying to get them all reviewed, and very often I dive into like a bunch of easy ones to be able to just start getting those games taken care of and played and covered, and I was like, oh, I'll check this off my list. I assume I'll be fine with it. Like, it's a party game. They're never a bad time, but I assumed it would be a game I played a few times and then just, moved on from it. And no, it's not going anywhere. This is delightful, it is different, it is a great filler little party game. It's a 4 out of 10, not a 4 out of 10, I apologize. It's a 4 out of 5 for me. I rate out of 5, not out of 10. I don't know why I did that. It's a 4 out of 5 for me, a very delightful party game that is... I just didn't expect it. I didn't expect it. It came out of nowhere for me. Good job, Lucky Duck. This is Captain Obvious. As far as other game recommendations, first of all, if you want something that's going to, or let's say give you 2 party game experiences that are going to focus on that small element of deception in the mix. So that's what this has. This is a party game. We have a player trying to obfuscate information. So I'll say a fake artist goes to New York is going to have players trying to figure out who the fake artist is in the group. It has that element of deception. And if you want arguably my favorite deception-based party game, Decrypto is going to have 2 teams of players, and each team's trying to obfuscate the clues towards the other team as players intercept and try to figure out what the right answer is before the other team. Or alternatively, your clues are so clever that your own team messes it up. There's 2 ways to win or lose that game. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.